Welcome back to the second half of NewsBreak Live. Joining me tonight is the president of the Torrance Rose Float Association, Bev Findley. Thanks so much for joining us, Bev.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us.
Now, this year marks the 128th Tournament Roses Parade in Pasadena, and Torrance will participate once again. So tell us a little bit about this year's float. I understand it's called Be Your Own Night.
Yes, this year our float was designed by a high school student, actually the concept. We held a contest this year for all the high schools in Torrance, and the students were given the theme of the parade, and then they were told to come up with their design concept. Our judges looked at those concepts and eliminated the ones they didn't think were going to fit the parade theme, and then they presented them to the board of the association, and we chose the Be Your Own Night theme, and then it was presented to City Council for approval.
Perfect. Now, can you tell me where you guys are in the float right now in terms of your timeline?
Okay, well, we started, the framing and everything is all done. Actually, they had a test drive in October to make sure everything worked right, and they had even a fire drill. But right now, we started the week, Saturday after Thanksgiving, cutting dry flowers, and the following Saturday, and starting the 27th through the 31st, we'll be running 2 shifts every day until we get all the flowers put on the float.
That sounds great. Now, the first Torrance Rose Float actually dates back to 1914. Can you share some of the history of this tradition with our viewers?
Right, yes. The first float was entered by Sidney Torrance in 1914 as his way to promote the city of Torrance. We didn't have another float in the parade until 1947, and then again in 48. And then we weren't in the parade for quite a while. And in 1958, we came back with another float in the parade, and we've had a float every year since then, except for one year, 67, when the tournament asked us to give our entry to an international company. So we did that, and we've had one ever since. We've had 62 floats, and all of our floats have won an award except for 12.
Wow. Okay. And also this year, something new was you had a float design open to students. Tell me a little bit more about that.
All right. We decided that we wanted to get more youth in Torrance involved in our float. So we decided to have a design contest, and we went to the school district and our 5 Torrance high schools and met with their principals and presented the contest to them. And then the students submitted their entries, and then at that time we had our float builder and 2 people from Destination Art. They were the judges and looked at all of the students' entries, and then they chose the finalists and submitted those to the board.
Perfect. And the Be Your Own Night, tell me more about that theme and how that's represented on the float.
Okay, Be Your Own Night is, it's kind of like the traditional fairy tale, but we're really not, the idea is you don't have to be a guy to be the knight. It's it's a upside down fairy tale. Acknowledges girl power. Since our designer was a girl, and she will be the knight. So the brave knight in the shining armor is going to be Lindsay, the winner of the contest, and she will defend the castle and her citizens from the ferocious dragon. Fighting dragons has a long time been a metaphor for, overcoming obstacles and rising to the occasion. So with that in mind, our city chose this theme as to emphasize that no gender needs to play the damsel in distress, that everyone can be successful and be their own knight.
Perfect. All right. And what exactly is this year's float made out of? I heard it's more than 15.5 feet tall.
Yes, it's 15.5 feet tall. I'm going to read to you what it is because it's very detailed. The enormous winged dragon will come to life with scales created from individual croton leaves, yellow and gold strawflower petals, with accents of purple statice and dendrobium. Orchid florets are artistically blended for the wings and chest area, and then will be applied to an acrylic plastic sheets for a transparent stained glass window effect. The castle's stone effect will be made with sweet rice, poppy seeds, and black onion seeds. And then there'll be English-style gardens that, kind of surround and border the castle. And then there'll be fanciful bushes of various shades of pink that'll frame the castle. And then there'll be Orange Queen's Day and Miracle Roses intermixed with orange Gerbers and completing all the gardens on the deck.
Well, that sounds amazing. And now, how is this year's float different from last year's and just previous years?
Okay, each year the float design is unique. But in the past, we've always had our builder, Fiesta Parade Floats, brings us several concepts and their ideas, and the Rose Float Association votes on the one they think would be the best one for that year, and then we take it to City Council and get it approved. Well, this year we went with something new. As I said, we did the design contest, and that's how we came up with it.
Great. And what are some of those upcoming events that you have taking place next week before the actual parade day?
Well, starting on the 27th at 8 a.m., we will be decorating every day through the 31st. On the 29th, all the city officials will come up and do a tour of the barn. And then judging will take place on the 1st. And then it'll go down Colorado Boulevard on the 2nd.
Great. And are you guys still looking for volunteers to help with the float?
Well, we pretty much are done with that. We've had a lot of people volunteer, and we do have to have forms and stuff filled out that have been taken care of. But we do need volunteers all year long, not just for the float. We have things that we need to take care of all year, and we would appreciate any volunteers that want to help us.
Okay, great. And what are some of those things that they could help with?
Well, some of the things we could help with is like we sell the rose vials. And you know, a lot of people only think of those as for Christmas and that, but you know, you do have those people that you have to buy for that already have everything, so why not give them a rose vial? So we need somebody who can manage, you know, making sure those get done. This year and last year we sold parade tickets, and so we could use someone who could be in charge of that. We have all kinds of things that people could help do.
Perfect. Okay. And then for this year's float, I understand it's going to be the 38th in the lineup.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. So people can...
they move you. You know, when we had the Zamperini float, we were at the beginning, and then last year we were in the middle, and it kind of rotates, so everybody gets a chance.
Perfect. Now, what about some fundraising events that the association holds throughout the year?
Well, we always do our Restaurants for Roses. We usually do 2 a month, and that's where you go to a restaurant and you take one of our flyers, and the restaurant gives us a percentage of the proceeds from the people who turned in the flyers. We do that, like I say, usually twice a month, and it's usually on Thursdays, the 2nd and 4th. But we also do Comedy and Magic Club a couple times a year. Last year we did a luau, and we probably will do one again this year. So we have those, and then like I said, we always have rose vials all the time.
Perfect. Okay. And then back to this year's float. Who's going to be riding on it this year?
Okay, well, our knight will be Lindsay Beckmeyer, the student who won the design contest. And then there will be Beth Campbell, Bailey Corona, Stephen Ide, Tori Parker, Carolyn Snyder, Laura Tewksbury, and Yuki Suji.
Perfect. And how are they chosen? How are they lucky guys that get to ride the float
Actually, they chose to ride the float. One of them won the raffle, opportunity drawing, because we did sell tickets to win a ride on the float, and we will be doing that again this year. So that's one way to do it, and then the other people paid to ride on the float besides the contest winner. And this year's contest winner again will be riding on the float. That's part of their
Perfect.
prize.
Okay. And in terms of just getting that float ready, how many volunteers does it take? And I imagine you guys are very grateful for all the help that you can get for designing that float.
Well, our day shifts, we run 35 to 40 people up there. And then the night shift, we'd like to see 20 or 30. Night shift people aren't as willing to come because it's colder, but we usually have that many. It takes us, I was doing some calculations the other day for someone else, and it's over 3,000 man hours.
So it definitely takes some hands to help with that
just
float.
at the barn alone. That doesn't count everything we've had to do all year long, you know. So.
Perfect. Now, has the theme already been announced for next year's parade?
No, it hasn't, but our design contest has been, and we're encouraging all the high school students in Torrance. If you live in Torrance and you go to high school, it doesn't matter if you go to Torrance Unified or not, you can enter the contest for a chance to design next year's float.
Okay, and tell me about some of those details. Let's say there's a student that wants to enter. Do they really have any special qualifications they're in need, or just a great idea?
Great idea. They can go to our website, torrancerosefloat.org, and the contest information is on that website, and they can get it and get the form, fill it out. The submissions are due at the end of January, and we'll be deciding the winner in February.
Okay, perfect. And is there anything else that you want our viewers to know about the parade?
I'll watch it and enjoy this great Torrance tradition.
All right, well, Bev, what a great opportunity to take part in a local tradition and be part of making history. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us.
And be sure to stay tuned here on City Cable on Wednesday, January 3rd at 8 p.m. for an exclusive behind-the-scenes coverage of the Rose Float and a look at the many events that will be taking place next week. Well, that does it for us here on NewsBreak Live. If you have any news or video that you'd like to share, you can email us at newsbreak@torranceca.gov. And for Facebook and Twitter, use the hashtag NewsBreakLive. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.